What's up everyone, my name is Glitchstream, but you can just call me Rune. I'm a VTuber who reviews video games from the perspective of a game designer. In each review, I'll be breaking down the various aspects of a video game, grading each part, and at the end, I'll share my personal score out of 10. The question is the game worth it? Let's dive in. Today, we're diving into the Payday series, with Starbreeze's third installment, Payday 3. I've been a huge fan of the Payday series for quite some time, so I was really excited to get my hands on this one. Payday 3 is a first-person shooter with a heavy focus on stealth. You play as part of a crew of bank robbers, planning and executing various heists. In most missions, you could choose to approach it stealthily, sneak past the guards and avoid detection, or go in guns blazing. The decision is yours, and that flexibility is part of what makes the series fun.
To watch your backs.
Yeah. Great. You saved us. Whoop-de-doo. What the fuck happened?
Wankers tried to snuff us all. That's what fucking happened.
The story of the Payday universe continues with the Payday gang, featuring returning characters like Dallas, Chains, Hoxton, Wolf, Joy, and Clover. We also have a new face joining the crew, Pearl. The story picks up 10 years after the end of Payday 2. With the crew forced out of retirement after their assets are frozen and people are trying to kill them. They start working for someone named Shade, an associate of Bane from the previous game. At first, they're just doing jobs to rebuild their lost wealth, but soon they turn their attention towards revenge, taking on the cabal that pulled them back into the game. I'm gonna be honest here. When I was playing through the game for the first time, I didn't pay much attention to the cutscenes between levels that explain the story. The game does force you to watch these during the main story, but what I really enjoy is the storytelling during the heists themselves. The banter between the characters and the way the heists are designed do a great job of telling the story in the series. I was able to pick up most of the plot just from playing through the heists and exploring the environments. Overall, the story was fine. It wasn't as wild as Payday 2, but it was definitely more structured. So, for the story, I'm giving a solid B. The theme of Payday is a dark, gritty modern world full of bank robbing and heists. It's a perfect setting for the chaotic gameplay, but when it comes to art, it's solid. Nothing crazy, but it gets the job done. Let's talk about the UI. While the UI looks sleek and modern at first glance, from a functional perspective, it's a bit of a nightmare. Navigating the menus can be frustratingly difficult. As a player, I found myself confused more often than not. It's hard to tell if you're in a party, and the process of setting up your loadouts from the main menu is overly complicated. The UI of Payday 3 is a total mess. Moving on to the 3D models in-game. From a design perspective, Payday 3 delivers some solid work here. The models, whether it's weapons, characters, or interactable objects, are well crafted and detailed. The fidelity of the gun models are particularly impressive. You can see the attention to detail in the things like textures, wear and tear, and the mechanical parts. It all adds to the immersion, especially when you're in the middle of a heist and every interaction feels tactile. Now, there's been some controversy over the in-game art. Specifically, there's speculation about the use of AI-generated art in the Under the Surface level. It's still unclear whether AI art was used for it, or if it was just designed to look that way. Personally, I'm not a fan of AI art, but I can see how it would fit the level's theme and narrative. Despite the controversies, the art in Payday 3 generally looks great. The models are solid, and it all works together with the gritty atmosphere of the game. If I had to rate the art overall, I'd give it a C. Good, but there's still room for improvement. I have to say, I absolutely love the stealth mechanics in Payday series, and that's going to be my primary focus for the review. I don't usually go loud, so if you're here for that, maybe another time. But there's one pet peeve that's followed the Payday series into Payday 3. Certain missions force you into a loud gameplay. Take the level Road Rage, for example. It's the only heist where you're not given the option to complete it stealthily. Now, I understand there's plenty of loud Payday players out there who love the chaotic approach, but as a dedicated stealth player myself, I can't help but feel a little frustrated when the choice is taken away. Onto a more positive note, Payday 3 introduces some fantastic new mechanics that I absolutely adore. The new zone mechanics, public, private, and restricted zones, are a fantastic addition. Being caught in a private zone doesn't mean the stealth run is over, which is one nice touch. Instead of blowing your cover entirely, you're just escorted out and continue the heist. It adds a layer of tension without punishing you too harshly. And let's talk about the new camera interactions. Now you can hack and control cameras without having to go into the security room first, which opens up a new way to approach stealth. You can use them to get a better view of the map, and eventually you can disable cameras or use them to spot guards. This adds flexibility, which makes the stealth experience even more dynamic. Now, while I mostly focus on stealth, I've got to mention a new mechanic that loud players are definitely going to enjoy: overkill weapons. During combat, you can fill up a bar that allows you to call in a special weapon. You get to choose between a sniper rifle or a grenade launcher in your loadout, and let me tell you, these weapons pack a punch. It's a game changer in the heat of combat, and adds a little extra excitement to those all-out fights. That being said, not all of the new mechanics are winners. One of the more frustrating elements are the stand in circle security system minigames. You'll come across these in a few heists, and they're honestly pretty bad. It's a tedious mechanic that just feels like a roadblock, breaking the flow of the otherwise well-paced mission. Then there's the AI. Unfortunately, the enemy AI isn't all that smart. Whether you're playing stealthily or loud, the AI feels pretty lackluster. In firefights, they don't act with much purpose. They just kind of move around aimlessly, rarely taking tactical cover or showing any real intelligence. It makes the combat encounters feel a little stale when the enemies aren't really reacting to the chaos you're creating. There are also times where the AI doesn't seem to know whether it wants to arrest you or open fire. It can feel pretty inconsistent. It's a shame, because tighter AI would make the combat and stealth mechanics so much more satisfying. Despite these AI issues, the overall improvements, like the new zone mechanics for stealth, the camera hacks, and the introduction of overkill weapons for loud players, really enhances the gameplay loop. While there's still some areas that feel rough around the edges, the new mechanics keep the experience fresh and engaging. In the end, I'd still give the gameplay and mechanics a solid B. There's plenty of fun to be had, but it's not without its frustrations. On to the audio of Payday 3, starting with the voice acting, which is honestly top-notch. The voice actors absolutely nailed it in Payday 3. The deliveries are fantastic and the lines are full of personality. Whether it's during an intense heist or just some cool, casual banter, the characters deliver some hilarious lines that fit perfectly within the game's chaotic world. I especially love the lines you hear while answering pagers. Every single one feels spot on and adds a bit of humor to the tension.
Yeah, everything's fine here. Great, actually. What did you think? That some clowns were trying to rob the place or something?
Right. Sounds great.
The sound effects are just as good. Every sound fits seamlessly into the game, and nothing feels out of place or immersion breaking. One sound in particular, the cloaker's distinct rush, gets me every time. That noise is so recognizable and haunting that it still manages to catch me off guard. It's one of those sounds that sticks with you long after you stop playing. I honestly have no complaints when it comes to the audio. From the voice lines to the environmental and combat sound effects, everything works perfectly together to create an immersive and engaging experience. If there's one thing I'd ask for, it's just more of it. I wish we got to hear more voice acting throughout the gameplay, because it really adds to the atmosphere, and it's just fantastic. Overall, the audio in Payday 3 deserves an A. The team did a fantastic job on this front. It's one of the elements that really elevates the game. Finally, the implementation of Payday 3. For this, we have to look back at Payday 3's launch. To put it simply, it had a bit of a rough start. One of the main issues was connection problems. For some reason, Starbreeze decided to make Payday 3 always online, unlike Payday's 2 peer-to-peer model. This decision led to overloaded servers at launch, and for many players, the game was practically unplayable. People were getting disconnected in the middle of rounds, or worse, they couldn't even get into a game at all. Thankfully, things have improved since then, and you can actually play the game now. But that launch left a scar. Even today, the always online model can cause some frustrations. It sometimes takes a while to start a round, even when you're just playing solo or with friends. It's a lingering issue that reminds players of the game's shaky launch. Beyond the server issues, Payday 3 also struggles with bugs and performance problems. Despite running the game on a powerful PC, I've experienced frequent performance dips. The art looks great, but these performance issues really hold it back. You'll come across a lot of visual bugs, things like physical glitches or cloth systems acting up. These bugs are noticeable during the gameplay and can break the immersion. One level that seems particularly buggy for me is Rock the Cradle. When the game first launched, there was an issue with getting the invitation you need to proceed to the second area, though that was eventually fixed. However, more recently, I encountered another bug where scanner didn't show up at all. I played the level several times and it seems like there's always something going wrong. And that's not all. There are a lot of weird AI bugs. Sometimes guards appear in complete random places, or cameras will see things they shouldn't possibly be able to see. Even the laser systems sometimes detect players when they really shouldn't. Payday 3 has a lot of dedicated systems, but they don't feel very polished at all. I think the biggest downfall of Payday 3 is the lack of polish. The game has so much potential, but it's held back by these bugs and performance issues. It honestly feels like there wasn't enough testing before release. With all these issues still around, I have to give the implementation of the game an F. I really hope they patch things up soon because it could be a great game if they do. Despite all the controversies and issues Payday 3 has faced, from its rocky launch to server problems and the bad mechanics, the game still managed to be pretty fun overall. The new stealth mechanics and addition of skills are definitely an improvement over the past titles in the series. They feel like a good step forward for Payday as a whole. That said, the UI, the bugs, the performance issues, and the occasional bad enemy AI are frustrating. But these things are easily able to be fixed with future updates, so I'm optimistic about the game's future. I've also played some of the new DLCs. They're honestly pretty solid. One of the free heists that came out alongside the DLCs was the Diamond District, which was a reimagining of Four Swords map from the Payday 2. And let me tell you, that is probably the most fun I've ever had in this game so far. It's by far the best map I've played. If they continue releasing content of this quality, the future of the game looks pretty bright. But to turn this game around, they'll need to focus on fixing the bugs and revamping the main menu UI. If they can do that, Starbreeze has the potential to make Payday 3 a much better experience for everyone. All in all, Payday is a solid game. It's not amazing by any means, and has plenty of issues, but they're still fun to be had. Especially if you're a fan of the series, I give it a 6 out of 10. Now the real question, is it worth it? If you're looking to buy in the game at full retail price, I'd be hesitant, unless you're a die-hard Payday fan or a stealth game fan. There's fun to be had here, but you'll need to deal with some frustrating bugs along the way. I'd recommend waiting for a sale, and if you enjoy the base game, the DLCs are definitely worth checking out. Thanks for tuning into my game review of Payday 3. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more content. I'd love to hear your thoughts, so drop a comment below. Do you agree with my take? Or is there something else you would like for me to review next? If you want to catch me live, check out my Twitch channel for more streams. See you guys in the next video.